Hi guys, thanks for being here. Trigger warning. This program contains sensitive and graphic materials, including crime scene photos and discussions of them. I wanted to give you plenty of warning in case you have young ones in the room or otherwise would want to switch away. Also, this channel is not accusing anyone of a crime and is for discussion and research only. All are presumed innocent. In the last episode we returned to the crime scene photos and I was discussing that circular stain near X on the floor that I always wondered about, and I'm sure you did too. What was set down on the floor there that made that mark, and who moved it afterward? In this picture we see a water flask nearby, but this was a later picture after a lot of things were moved by detectives. I think that bottle might have originally been over on the left in the nightstand before things were moved, but I will check in earlier photos in a moment if I can find some. It gives you an idea of the size of the circular stain though. You can see the frame of the shelves there. And one of the Taco Bell items that was near X. Last time I was also discussing the light-colored hairs or fibers seen there in the stain. Later it hit me, I wonder if those could have been from her fluffy chair. Only a lab could tell us for sure. I don't recall seeing a report on it so far, but I could be wrong. We know that no fibers or hairs in the scene were found that were matched to Kohberger according to the documentation we've seen so far as of May 2026. The bottle was originally there on the left. So anyway, we still don't know about the circle left on the floor and many other things. There were bottles and cans all over the house left in strange places, and we only saw forensics on a couple of them so far. And we didn't see anything on the hair or fibers we've seen and heard about. Also with the Taco Bell items around X, was it a DoorDash order we haven't heard about or just leftovers? We never saw details from that bag in the bedroom. At first I was confused about the fries with those Taco Bell items, but apparently they do have fries now at Taco Bell? Regarding the Jack-in-the-Box items in the kitchen, of course, we don't know for sure X was the one who placed that order. We haven't seen stomach contents reports from the medical examiner. Supposedly no blood was found in the kitchen, but we wondered about these spots on the floor by the back slider that looked like maybe they luminesced with the amido black. But again, we never heard of any blood evidence being found in this area in any of the reports released so far. Maybe these spots were just tracks made afterward in the amido black or just how it dried. While we're in the kitchen photos, just to illustrate how much photos differed from each other between the first responders and the ISP photos that we finally got, let's look at how the Jack-in-the-Box bag moved around in different pictures over time. It appears to be on the counter by the orange juice jug to start with, then in later ISP photos it's behind the sink and then back out on the counter after the amido black. This is true in all the rooms. Going back to the living room, let's look at the chips on the couch. We've talked about this for a long time. BF said she went out with Maddie taking Murphy out, but came back in quickly because it was so cold. She said she got chips from the kitchen cabinet and took them downstairs to watch her show. Actually, this is a later picture. They started out on the arm of the couch. It looks like a puppy pad has been added to the couch there. Let's look at an earlier picture. So as we've discussed in threads for a long time, I know it always jumped out at me. BF said she took chips down to her room. But we didn't see them in her room, we saw them on the living room couch. So in the beginning we were a little confused about who watched which show where. But according to the interviews we learned it was DM and her friend Elle who made popcorn and watched Vampire Diaries up here in the living room. The other surviving roommate BF came home a bit later. Elle went home on foot by herself to her sorority, about a 15-minute walk if I recall correctly. Kaylee and Maddie allegedly came home shortly before 2 a.m. with their mac and cheese. BF and DM went upstairs with them and reportedly took some selfie videos during this time in Kaylee's third-floor room, and then DM went to bed at some point and Mem and BF allegedly took Murphy out. Then BF got her chips on the way in and supposedly took them downstairs to her room. As we always discussed, did she come back up or did she just not actually take them downstairs? She said she went down with her chips to watch Baby Daddy, and said Maddie then came to her bedroom door to ask if she knew where Murphy was, and she said no, she didn't know. This was also a bit strange because supposedly when DM came home, she had let Murphy out as well. But this was a bit later, so maybe he would be let out again. We also wondered why would be the one to take the dog out because we saw her condition, she was very wobbly. But if Kelly got that call at that time, that could be why Maddie and BF took him out. We never knew why the others wouldn't have helped Maddie look for the dog. But maybe someone left the door open for Murphy to come back in, or maybe Maddie found him. I always wondered in the beginning if the flurry of attempted communications from Maddie and Kaylee's phones to JD during this time frame was them looking for Murphy, asking if he had him, or had seen him. But another possibility, of course, was that they were hearing something downstairs and were frantically calling about that. Or neither of these. In the ISP photo upstairs in Kaylee's room we saw a fork on a nightstand. Of course we don't have the MPD photos to compare, and the bodycams are redacted. It would be interesting to compare, just like the sheath pictures that we've been denied so far. Anyway, we didn't see a mac and cheese container up there that I recall, and no itemization of the trash. We saw a neat and organized room as mentioned before. The bed is rumpled as if someone had been in it. It looked like possibly even smudges from Murphy's paws might have occurred there at some point. However, makeup can also leave smudges like that. Or maybe it's only shadows. Only the lab could tell us, but we never saw any forensics on any of the sheets so far that I can recall. There was a black jacket that could have been the one Maddie was wearing. Kaylee's grey hoodie appeared to be on the chair. So downstairs in BF's room we saw popcorn but not the chips. We wondered at first about the condition of the bed. Did someone rummage around looking for something, or was this just from the detectives moving things around? Later we realized how much things were moved around during crime scene processing and beds were piled up like this. By the way, when I think of it I try to leave the ISP sequence number showing at the side in case you want to know which one it is or anything. There's one of the Keystone Light beer cans from the vanity. One of the few that was tested. Then we saw JS Hoodie Guy and his frat brother CC, and another one asked about Keystone Light. So what DNA was found on the cans? I don't think that result was released, but I'm not sure. Maybe you can point me to it. Looks like some Vans in the closet. Don't get me wrong, we've never seen evidence of DM and BF being involved in any crime. We just started noting wherever we saw Vans because of the PCA mentioning the diamond-shaped shoe print left on the second floor as being typical of a Vans shoe, and we later saw the print. Of course lots of students wear Vans. But we never did get an identification on the shoe prints. More Taco Bell. Again, I think there was mention of them going for Taco Bell at some earlier time, but we just didn't see any clarification to know for sure there wasn't a Taco Bell delivery that night as well. We were curious early on because of the private driver mentioning going to Taco Bell that night. And there was the call from DM to the private driver that night. And BF also asking people to bring her mac and cheese, but it seemed like maybe no one got that message. Also, now that I think of it, JS Hoodie Guy and his friend Connor went to Taco Bell on the Saturday too, right? Investigators first thought they had gone to the McDonald's, but then the friend that drove them said it was the Taco Bell if I recall correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, it would be interesting if it turned out there was a Taco Bell delivery that night, or if JS Hoodie Guy and CC had been there at some point, etc., but it could have just been leftovers. Next we see the jersey in the chair. Many people questioned if this was possibly Xana's jersey because it looked like it had a 4. Some people said BF also had one. Did hers start with the number 4 also? Let me know. Going back up to the second floor, there's the diamond sole shoe print at the threshold of surviving roommate DM's door. Here's what DM's room looked like after the detectives, but in this case we do have one picture before the bed got completely messed up. Some of the photos redacted the artworks she had on her walls. We heard in reports that there were pictures of eyes with eyebrows. When the photos came out showing the artworks, people were left wondering why only the eyes had been mentioned. It's important to note, I think she might have been majoring in physical therapy or something like that, correct me if I'm wrong, which might explain some of them. Also, artists do study anatomy, but some kind of left people puzzled. There are multiple images of throats and headless torsos. Next to them are hands that look like they're in blue gloves. Why did the PCA only mention eyes? Again, we haven't seen any evidence of the roommates being involved in any crime. They are not accused of any crime. This is a tragedy for so many innocent people in this case, as well as their friends, the victims of this crime. That can't be overstated. But did investigators ask questions about some of these artworks at least? Who drew them? When they were drawn? Etc. Was DM the artist, or were they by her boyfriend or another person? Also, what was the contents of the Snapchats all that morning? Many questions remain. Please excuse any glitches, let me know any corrections, I'm just going to upload as is. Let me know your thoughts and thanks for watching.